We celebrate many feasts to Mother Mary. Some of these feasts are based on the events of her life: the Immaculate Conception, the birth of Mary, the Annunciation, the Assumption, and the coronation of Mary, our Mother, as Queen of Heaven and Earth, and so on. Some of the feasts are based on the apparitions of Mary: the Feast of Mount Carmel, Fatima, Lourdes, Velangani, and so on. There are many feasts for the titles of Mary: Mother of Perpetual Help, Mary, Help of Christians, Mary, Mother of God, Mother of the Church, and so on. There are so many other feasts also. Generally, the feasts give us joyful events, joyful titles. There is meaning and reason when we celebrate something joyful. But in the long list of feasts that we celebrate to Mother Mary, there is also today's feast, the Feast of the Mother of Sorrows, a feast for the sorrows of Mary. What? A feast for the sorrows of Mary? Feast for the joys of Mary is okay, but for the sorrows? Can anyone celebrate someone's sorrows, pain, and suffering? Only an enemy would do that. But we are her loving children of Mother Mary. Has the Church perhaps made a mistake in instituting a feast to celebrate the sorrows of Mary? Is today perhaps a day in which we are called to express our solidarity with our suffering mother and mourn with her and sympathize with her? No. Today is clearly declared as a feast, a day to rejoice. The psalms, the responses, the acclamations of today's liturgy, all show that today is a very joyful feast. Today is a day to proclaim and celebrate the sorrows of Mary. To proclaim and celebrate the pain and agony experienced by her from the time she was chosen by God till the time of the ascension of Jesus, or perhaps even after that, when the church was persecuted by the Roman Empire, she suffered too. The meaning of today's celebration, today's feast, can be understood and appreciated only in the context of suffering, crucifixion, and death of Jesus. That Friday on which the suffering, pain, and agony of Jesus came to a climax in the cruel death on the cross, in the cruel death of Jesus, that Friday is not called Black Friday, is not called Bad Friday, it is called Good Friday, and we celebrate it because by suffering, passion, and death on a cross, Jesus redeemed the world. The suffering and pain give way to joy. Suffering and pain and death are the prelude of victory, prelude of rejoicing and new life. The passion and death of Jesus and Mary's participation in the same is like the pain and suffering at childbirth. That very suffering is the cause of a joyful event, a new life. Thus, we celebrate life in celebrating the sorrows of Mary. We do not negate, we do not ignore or forget the suffering and pain either. By our baptism, by our religious profession, and by our ordination, just like Mary, our mother, we become partakers of the life-giving suffering and death of Jesus. When suffering and pain comes our way, because of our commitment to Jesus, because of our conviction and ministry, we have every reason to rejoice. In fact, any suffering that we have to undergo gains a redemptive value when we remain united to Jesus as Mary did. The feast today is a continuation of the feast that we celebrated yesterday, the exaltation of the Holy Cross. Yesterday we celebrated an instrument, the cross, which caused Jesus such a painful death. Today we celebrate how Mary united herself to the painful death of Jesus. It should not stop there. It is time for us now to celebrate our pains and our sufferings, united to Jesus and Mary in this Eucharist.